Hello and welcome to the Capitol Report on Entity Television. I'm Steve Lance. A challenging week ahead for lawmakers in Washington as a motion to put House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's job on the line could come at any moment. This after Republicans worked with Democrats to avert a government shutdown, though only temporary. Entity's Melina Wisecup brings us more from the Capitol.
It is going to be difficult for my Republican friends to keep calling President Biden feeble while he continues to take Speaker McCarthy's lunch money in every negotiation.
That's Congressman Matt Gaetz announcing he'll file a motion to vacate the speakership at some point this week. Now, this is at odds with what Gaetz told me just on Friday, saying that his focus had shifted from this, but that was before that weekend vote when House Speaker Kevin McCarthy did hold that vote to pass a bill to temporarily fund the government for the next few weeks to avert a shutdown. 91 Republicans voted against that, which means it only passed with Democrat support, leading to some unhappy Republicans who are now publicly questioning Speaker McCarthy's leadership. Gaetz says he has the few Republican votes needed to oust McCarthy, that is, if all Democrats support it. While others aren't 100% on board, they told me they'd keep an open mind.
I'm not backtracking or anything, but what I said was something that I'd look at.
While the majority of the Republican conference are against it.
Oh, I'm completely against that, and that's not realistic.
It's ridiculous.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen.
McCarthy says he's not worried about losing his job, but didn't rule out making a deal with Democrats in order to keep his gavel should it come down to that, an idea that some have expressed openness to.
I don't worry about that. I'm more interested in getting the appropriation bills passed. I think this is a question to the institution itself.
If we have to go across the aisle and talk to the Dems, what is so sinful about that? Nothing.
But the bottom line is that the controversial issue that led to all of this chaos that is government funding is going to bubble up again in just a few short weeks on November 17th when that government funding runs out again. Reporting from Capitol Hill, Melina Wisecup, NTD News.
As Congress temporarily avoids a government shutdown, it's also freezing new aid to Ukraine. But the White House saying a new aid package is on the way. NTD's Iris Tao has more from the White House.
Giving in to a key demand by some Republicans, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy dropped any additional aid for Ukraine in the last-minute bill to fund the government. But the White House on Monday said it would soon announce a new aid package for Ukraine.
And if Putin thinks he can outlast us, he's wrong. We will have another package of aid for Ukraine soon to signal our continued support.
According to the White House, the U.S. has already sent around $80 billion to Ukraine since the war began. And President Biden is urging Congress to negotiate an aid package as soon as possible.
Stop playing games. Get this done.
But the push to send more money to Ukraine comes amid concerns by the Biden administration itself over corruption in Ukraine. A recently released document by the State Department says Ukraine needs, quote, reforms in the energy sector and a bastion of corruption and oligarchic control. It adds that Ukraine cannot afford to push reforms to a post-war period. And Republican lawmakers remain divided on whether funding Ukraine is the right priority.
I tell you, that's not a mission the American people support.
All this as the Pentagon has warned Congress in a new letter that has, quote, exhausted nearly all available security assistance funding for Ukraine. As it's urging Congress to approve more aid, it notes that it's been, quote, forced to slow down the replenishment of our own forces to hedge against an uncertain funding future. Reporting from the White House, Iris Tao, NTD News.
Former President Trump calling the New York fraud case against him a disgrace as day one of what's expected to be a months-long trial begins. Trump is accused of filing false financial statements to benefit his business. NTD's legal correspondent Arlene Richards has more.
Former President Trump was stopped by a barrage of media as he entered the courthouse on Monday to face a financial fraud trial. The New York Attorney General Letitia James has accused Trump and his sons of repeatedly filing false financial statements to inflate his net worth.
This is a continuation of the single greatest witch hunt of all time.
Dressed in a blue suit and tie, Trump said the upcoming trial was a scam.
We have a rogue judge. We have a racist attorney general who's a horror show who ran on the basis that she was going to get Trump before she even knew anything about me.
Monday started day one of a 3-month trial. Trump and his adult children are accused of repeatedly inflating property valuations on bank loan and insurance applications. James, a Democrat, is seeking $250 million in penalties and a ban on Trump doing business in New York.
Good morning, everyone. Donald Trump and the other defendants have committed persistent and repeated fraud. My message is simple. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how much money you think you may have, no one is above the law.
Judge Arthur Engoron, who is presiding over the trial without a jury, will make the final determination. Last Tuesday, Engoron ruled on a major element of James' suit, deciding that Trump had overvalued his assets and committed fraud. While Trump's legal team appeals that decision, the trial will address 6 other related claims and determine the amount of damages owed. In a packed courtroom on Tuesday, Trump's attorneys defended his actions as lawful. They stated that banks vetted his financial information before approving it. Outside of the court, they said this is election interference.
We just heard Letitia James make comments that nobody is above the law. I think that's quite rich, considering that anybody that's a Democrat, including the Biden family, seems to be above the law every day.
The attorney said Trump is leading by 10 points in the polls and that this trial is part of an attempt to stop him from running. If Trump's appeal is unsuccessful, his control over major real estate holdings could be in jeopardy. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
A replacement for California Senator Dianne Feinstein's seat. Some are criticizing the appointment, citing her current place of residence and scrutinizing her past roles.
California Governor Gavin Newsom has selected LaFonza Butler to fill Dianne Feinstein's Senate seat. Newsom previously pledged to appoint a black woman for the seat if Feinstein couldn't finish her term. He's now making good on that promise. A political commentator for CNN on Monday pointed out that this decision won't make sense to some.
Outside of San Francisco, this may not make sense. It seems, like it may seem like identity politics, sort of taken to an extreme. I mean, he really sort of announced in advance what the criteria would be, and those criteria didn't necessarily make a lot of sense. There's a lot of different ways to do your politics. That wasn't necessarily the best way from a governance standpoint.
LaFonza Butler is also the president of Emily's List, an organization that helps elect Democratic female candidates who are pro-abortion. The president of Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America commented on that, saying, "Today's Democratic Party stands for abortion anytime, for any reason, with no limits up to birth." The former director of Planned Parenthood, who's now a pro-life advocate, commented on the appointment, calling Emily's List a fundraising machine for pro-abortion political candidates. Others are saying that Butler doesn't actually live in California. This FEC filing appears to show her residence as Silver Spring, Maryland. Another screenshot taken from Butler's page on the Emily's List website states she lives in Maryland. The webpage didn't include that part as of Monday afternoon. Butler on Monday said, "I'm honored to accept Governor Gavin Newsom's nomination to be U.S. Senator for a state I have made my home, and honored by his trust in me." Dianne Feinstein died at her home in Washington, D.C. on Thursday. She was 90 years old. An official cause of death has not been released.
Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.